Welcome to First Things First.
What happened?
So we forgot you were back. Sorry.
Oh, you're back.
Good to see you again.
I forgot.
We missed you, Wild.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
I did not miss you guys, but I appreciate it. For the third time while I've been on this show, Harden's new home. Good thing James Harden's bags were packed that one time. He's now on the Clippers. Here's the main headline. Harden, P.J. Tucker, all of his sneakers headed to L.A. Covington back in Philly with Marcus Morris, Batum, K.J. Martin, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a first-round pick swap. Clippers now have a big 4, Brew. Was this a good move for L.A.? Your Clippers.
Yeah, is it? Are they back?
You might be back.
Are your Clippers, Bruce, Clippers back?
We're back!
Oh, God.
We are back! We are so back!
That is so
That's
exciting. That is
Psych.
Could not be that.
Psych.
Oh, he said
I was going
psych.
to say, there's no possible.
Damn it.
No, I
was
will
so
not go
rooting
that
for that.
far. But I do like the trade for them. I kind of like it both ways. We'll talk about that Philly side later. But I like this. One reason I just can't put all my eggs in the Clipper basket is because we know at some point, inevitably, Kawhi or PG-13 will probably go down. Hopefully not, but probably. That's why I can't put my eggs in their basket. But I do like this trade because, one, I think they needed a playmaker, okay? And obviously PG, Paul George, and Kawhi can handle the ball. And they've gotten away with not really having a true point guard. But now you bring a distributor there. Forget the Houston Harden. That's out. Okay? He's going to be the Harden that he was in Brooklyn, where he with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, where he's going to distribute the basketball. And they've already started that transition with the Clippers with Westbrook kind of handling it, and PG and Kawhi playing off the ball more, and they've been excellent. They're second-rated offense in the league. I know it's 3 games, but through 3 games, they've been great offensively. So I think he fills that bill. 2, and this might be the main reason they did it, or one of them, he's insurance policy for if Kawhi or Paul George gets hurt, because, and even if they don't get hurt, he can take a little load off of those guys so that, they don't have to play as many minutes and you don't need to put as much pressure on them to carry you. Now he can do it. I think all things ideally, he'll average about 17 points and 10 assists a game. That's impossible?
Well, no, I mean, he will be miserable.
I don't think he's all. Look, he is an elite playmaker as well. He talked about going to Houston to be the old James Harden because he thought that's what they needed. They didn't have anybody else when he was talking
what
that
he
mess.
wanted.
But he's not going back to that.
Okay.
If he was, why would he ever say I want to go to the Clippers in the first place?
Because they're the only
he
team
knows he's going to be the third option.
They're the only team that can pay him,
But
and they're a desperate
But he's
organization.
not going to be. You think he thinks he's going to play like he did in Houston?
I think he's not going to get to play the way he wants, and he's going to mope, and it's not going to work well. Listen, this is not going to work. Clippers, to me, are in denial on where they are. Mm-hmm. And they are now they're going to get a worse version of Russell Westbrook, who was finally empowered and happy and playing the best basketball he had played in years. Russ and Harden came together for 1 year, and at the end of it, they were both so miserable, they both demanded trades out of Houston. We heard from Doc Rivers recently, now that he is in the media, that what happened with Harden last year, well, it really bothered him that he didn't make the All-Star team. We heard from Harden himself that he was bothered during the postseason that he wasn't allowed to be old James Harden. And to me, Harden now is empowered more than ever. Because he acted as poorly as one could act, melted down in the playoffs again, and got exactly what he wanted. And he actually has, while I understand the Clippers maybe have some leverage over Harden because it's like, we might not pay you, he feels like he has leverage over them because you clearly don't want to extend Kawhi. You don't want to extend Paul George, or else you would have already done it. Russ, you gave the minimum to. I want to be here. And so I think this is I think that this is the Clippers trying to grasp onto the idea that this team was ever actually a contender. And maybe.
You don't think they were ever a contender?
No, I mean, maybe in the bubble it could have happened. I know just yesterday Lou Williams was doing an interview saying, we'd have won the championship, but the bubble sucked.
Yeah.
And so, but that was, again, you guys used to make fun of me when I was like, the Lakers just won the title 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The bubble was 4 seasons ago.
Right.
And so that the
What's
idea,
been their main problem, though? Injuries. And again, I'm not picking them to win the West. I can't believe you think that Harden thinks he's going to go there and play like he did for Mike
I think
D'Antoni.
Harden is going to do what he has done everywhere he has ever gone. Be great for the opening month or two, then get upset, mercurial, disengaged, and be awful in the playoffs. All I have is 15 years of it.
Yeah,
I mean, why would he be different? Why? He got exactly what he wanted.
Right.
What does he want?
He wanted to go to L.A. is my point.
Oh, no, but he's
in
always
LA.
wanted to go. He doesn't know what he wants. He wants to go to Brooklyn. He wants to go to Philadelphia.
He doesn't know what
now
he
wants. He wants money. He wants to win. He wants to compete. Well, if you want to compete, now you're with the MVP. You don't like that.
Right.
Daryl Morey's a liar. Nope, Daryl Morey is like my best friend in Houston. It's so sporadic. I think Brew is right. We know how this.
You think it's going to work?
I agree with.
No, I think we know how this is going to end. It's going to be the most sporadic team. That Russ is going to be good until he's not. And Kawhi is going to be good until he doesn't play. And Paul George is going to be good until he gets hurt or the playoffs come and he's a little up and down. And Harden's going to be the same way. It's it's going to be roll the dice, see what you get for the Clippers day in, day out.
I agree with you in that. To me, the big question is Russ. How does this affect him?
But
he's only been averaging 8 points a game, 8 shots a game. Like Russ
But the
quickly
ball's in his hands.
Well, it's not going to be now. I mean,
Right.
even if he
So
starts.
then what good
And the
is
ball
he?
hasn't been exclusively in his
True.
hands as it is. He's only taking 8 shots a game. He's getting six assists, 7 rebounds. And he's kind of doing everything for them. And that's what they need him to do. And his high energy and hustle is important for that team because their 3 stars, Harden, Kawhi, and Paul George, are all low energy. So, I'm going to give it a shot.
Here's the title odds. Boston's still in the driver's seat. Then it's the Bucks. Then the reigning champs, which is super low and I would say disrespectful. Then it's Phoenix, and then the Clippers. It's 5th best. Are you buying their contenders, Nick?
No. I think that right now, and I don't want to take shots at anyone, but I also don't. Maybe it's just not even a person. Maybe it's an algorithm that put this together. ESPN, which otherwise they've got a great football analytics department. Their analytics department today said the Clippers are the favorites in the West. The Clippers have the same chances, the favorites in the West over Denver, the same chances of making the conference finals as Milwaukee, and better title odds than every team in the league except for Milwaukee or Boston. That is bananas. Those odds right there are bananas. To me, in the West right now, unequivocally, I like Denver, Golden State, OKC, and Phoenix more. I like all of them more. I think I like Dallas, Sacramento, and the Lakers more. I have not been happy with how the Lakers have played at all. That's why I said I think. That then puts the Clippers with the Timberwolves, with Minnesota. If people believe Memphis is going to get it turned around, I don't. In that general vicinity. Well, I listed 4 teams definitely ahead of them, 3 that I think are ahead of them. That puts them in the play-in area, which, by the way, is around the area they were in last year. Now, they avoided it, but if you remember, the play-in thing was coming down to the last week. I don't think, Brew, this is a great team. I think this is a team that has mortgaged its entire future. They do not control any of their first or second round picks for the next 6 years. And by the way, what do Harden, Russ, Kawhi, and Paul George all have in common? They all could be free agents after this year. They all either have expiring contracts or player options. So I don't understand what they're doing other than trying to convince themselves they can compete for a championship when I think they're competing to avoid the play-in.
I think Steve Ballmer's saying this is the last grasp at winning the championship with Kawhi and Paul George. Obviously, and I think they've failed largely because they've been injured. I mean, last year, Paul George didn't play any playoff games. Kawhi only played 2. Like, other than that year in the bubble, they blew it in the bubble. They definitely melted down against Denver when they were up 3-1. But they really haven't, to me, had a great chance. Kind of like, you'll laugh, but Brooklyn, all right, with their big 3. But I agree with Nick. To have them favorites in the West is crazy. All right. Now, I think I like Denver, Phoenix, Golden State better than them. Mm-hmm. I think the Clippers are right there after them with Sac, maybe the Lakers, and then you got Dallas, OKC, New Orleans, Minnesota. I think they will if they're healthy, they definitely can make the playoffs. All right. But as far as
I hope so.
Yeah, well, I mean, not even in the play-in. I mean, they are a playoff team.
Still, I agree. That's so far away from contending for a championship.
I think they are. Like I said, I've got them 4th. I got them ahead of the Lakers right now, who I don't think are looking good. And in the playoffs, here's the thing with Harden. We know his problem has been not showing up, shrinking in big moments.
Yep.
He's the 3rd option. If he will be able to shrink, because if you have Kawhi Leonard healthy, Paul George there, Westbrook, they still got Norman Powell. They got other guys that can score. They can handle him just passing the ball and taking 11 shots in one of those games where he doesn't show up. Well, no, I'm saying if he shrinks, when he's shrunk, well, then you know what? Then they can go to other guys. It's only a 1-year deal. It's not like I don't know that they're locked into him.
I agree they're not locked into him, which is why I think they were the only team bidding, and they kept bidding against themselves. They gave up essentially 3 first-round picks for James Harden.
They've been there to the pick thing. They've been through the process thing, and they did that years ago, and it never worked out for them.
They gave
and they're
up
trying to win now.
As much, if not a touch more, for Harden than the Celtics gave up for Drew Holiday. And I think that is bananas. I just flatly think that's bananas.
They've also have 1 win in their last 10 games against Denver. So does Harden make them beat Denver 4 times in 7 games? No.
Denver owns a lot of the teams. I mean, Denver's the best team
that's
in
the
the West.
point.
5 straight against the Lakers.
Wide open.
They own the Lakers.
Harden, one of the 4 former MVPs to be traded 4 times. The other, good company, Moses, Bob McAdoo, and teammate for the 3rd time, Russell Westbrook. Here's Harden's journey since leaving the Thunder. Rockets likes to shoot, and then the Nets a little bit less. And the Sixers, the assists are there, 21 points. So, Nick, what is Harden's legacy going to be?
That's so funny. I didn't know that stat you just mentioned, but I wrote on my sheet right here, I have Bob McAdoo, ? And then I also have Pistol Pete.
Oh,
in that,
I like Pistol Pete as a compliment.
So here's the thing. Anyone who, if you talk to someone who is old enough to have watched Pistol Pete, they're usually not that complimentary of him as a teammate, winner, but awed at his skill. But when you look back at it, you're like, my God, the guy averaged 40 a game in college, no 3-point line, and then you see his numbers in the pros. Harden is going to be a guy that in 15 years, folks go up to, Grandpa Broussard, and are like, why don't you guys put more respect on James Harden's name? And Bru's going to say, young man, you had to be there. Yeah, trust me on this one. And what's, I think, going to really hurt him is to use, maybe passe vernacular. He doesn't have any stands. There's nobody out there caping for James Harden. We learned this past year, Paul George has more diehards than James Harden. He doesn't have a city that's endlessly loyal to him anymore after he spurned Houston, then Houston spurned him. He doesn't people like Allen Iverson's legacy is kind of, I don't want to say controversial.
He's going to be an icon.
But he has folks that'll be like one of the 5 best players ever, and they will fight you on it. Harden's got nobody. And he's not, if they win a title here, I guess Bob McAdoo, by the way, won a title as 6th man.
As a role
player, it'd be similar there. But I just think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, man, you had to be there for it. Because I know the numbers tell you one thing, but those of us who watched him and covered him, we will tell you something very differently, which is he napalmed teams and melted in the postseason every stop of the way.
I don't think it's going to be that bad. Because Iverson and Pistol Pete are icons. I look at them as icons. but neither of them obviously won. Iverson at least led a team to the finals. Pistol Pete didn't win.
I think he got out of round one once.
Right,
I think
so I think Harden, I think his basketball legacy and his greatness on the court will be remembered. This is one of the elite all-time few players who I think was an all-time elite scorer and playmaker. Like, he is a great point guard when he wants to be. And so I think people remember that. He's obviously top 75. He's first ballot Hall of Famer. All of that, you can't take it away from him. And I think, Nick, he led enough teams to the conference finals where, yes, he melted down. He also had some big playoff games, but he melted down at moments. But he went deep enough in the playoffs regularly where I don't think compare him to a Pistol Pete or anything like that. Like, people will question whether or not a Pistol Pete should have been top 75. Sure. They'll never question that about James Harden. So I think the thing is, to me, not that category you mentioned. He's in the category of, obviously he hadn't gone this far, but a Dennis Rodman and a Kyrie Irving, where it's controversial, the controversial James Harden. Like, first sentence of his story will be the controversial James Harden.
Wildes, will it be controversial or will it be quitter?
You think it's going to be quitter? I think
right now, he's the all-time Guinness World Record holder for quitting on franchises.
It works, though. Here's the problem, the media will drag him over the coals and say, no, you're not supposed to do this. He's like, you know what? It's worked every time.
Wait, but it hasn't. I would argue it has not worked at all. He has not gotten his money. He has not gotten his numbers.
But he's gone to where he wants to go.
But
every team he's wanted to go,
not the numbers he had previously. No, yes, he gets to go where he wants to go, and then he realizes, I'm not happy here. It's not like at the end of these things, he's like, told you so. Look at these rings. Look at these stats. Look at this contract. Each place has gotten worse for him. Each step.
I know, but we put the player empowerment era, and we put it up on a pedestal. It's LeBron and Rich, and they've made it all work. Right. And Harden's kind of down at the bottom. He's like, I made it work too by pouting and quitting on the team and showing up overweight and quitting during the game. But guess what? It works for both of us. Mine's just a little bit scrappier.
But I guess I disagree with you that it's worked. I do not. I think James Harden feels like he's got nothing he wanted except for the locations. But a lot of people could pick the city they want to work in if they can't pick the money and they can't pick their title. Harden just keeps getting lesser roles on teams, shorter contract length, less total dollars, and lower standing in the public eye.
I'm saying it's a good strategy. I'm saying it has. It wasn't necessarily a good plan, but the plan worked.
He's blown the money himself.
Yes.
That's on
Agreed.
him. All right, there's no. Most of this is on him, but the money is just him making bad decisions.
Sixers side of things, draft picks, to me, Nick, feels very processy. Here in the odds to win the East go Celtics, Bucks, Cavs, Sixers, then Miami. But you have an optimistic view on this. Are the Sixers better off without Harden?
Yeah. I think I'm shocked that first of all, the Clippers valued man more than an unprotected first. I think the Sixers ended up doing better because the Clippers initially said no. And we can show it to you. I said it before. But what the Drew Holiday trade versus the James Harden trade, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because what you are going to see, I think, is so that's what they got for Drew. 2 firsts, 2 players with more than a year left on the deal and some injury history, right? The Sixers got 3 firsts, better firsts, by the way, because the Golden State first and the Boston first in 29 should not be very good, and then players not as good as that. Here's why I bring it up. When the next player, Drew Holiday caliber, is available, the Sixers now clearly have the ammunition. So I agree with you. The draft picks might be overrated for Joel Embiid and his future there. Mm-hmm. But Zach LaVine might not be, or Brandon Ingram might not be, or as Chris Mannix mentioned, OG Anunoby might not be, and that's what I think is happening here. Daryl now you don't think people want the unprotected 28 and 29 Clippers picks? Even if this works out, by 28, 29, you know what I mean? Exactly. Right. And so I think that this ends up getting them the move they need, and they prove, believe it or not, The only player under contract after this year for the Sixers is Embiid. So they're going to have cap space in this capital this year to be able to go get a player.
They'll have $50 to $65 million in the summer to sign a free agent. All right, so that's one thing. And then, like Nick said, they'll have the ammunition in expiring contracts. All the contracts they got were expiring. And draft picks to maybe during the season. Like I think they played
during the season.
Let this play out and see how you look. And then if you feel like you need somebody like a Zach LaVine, you have the ammunition to go get him. I also think basketball-wise. I said this, you guys know this 2-3 weeks ago. They can go as far without James Harden as they could with him.
And Maxey.
Which is the second round. Maxey is playing great, 30 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds a game. And he's not going to keep that up, but he could be a future star. And look, these guys aren't tremendous, Covington, Batum, but they give you depth. They've got 3 scores with Embiid, Maxey, and Tobias Harris, who's averaging 19 a game. Kelly Oubre, I think, is a pretty good player. He's not going to score like he is now at 19, but he can score. Like they're one of the deeper teams now. I think they're not with Milwaukee and Boston. But I think they could be that second. Like they can play with anybody else.
The MVP. Well, congratulations.
Well,
I'm the MVP.
They weren't going anywhere with Harden. That's the thing. Harden could have came back smiling and eating ice cream, and they wouldn't have went to the finals.
My issue is with this. I think what you said makes total sense. It's like, look, next superstar that's available, boom, we can get him. But if I'm Joel Embiid, I'm like, yeah, I heard that when we were sitting Ben Simmons on the sideline, and then we got Harden. And this feels like a retread. Well, I went out and won MVP. Now you're selling me the same story that you sold me when we had to sideline Ben Simmons. We got Harden, and I went through this whole year, won the MVP, and now I'm back to square one.
What you're saying is 100% correct. That doesn't change the fact that given the reality, Daryl Morey made the mistake of getting in business once again with James Harden. And James Harden in some ways helped make Daryl Morey into what he is, and also has been maybe his biggest downfall in certain areas. He extricated himself from it, given the circumstances, I believe as well as he could have. And if you end up with the 24th best player in the league alongside Embiid because of what you traded away for Harden, it's going to be fine. But yeah, it's going to take some patience, and I understand you're saying Embiid might be running short on it. But there's nothing you can do right now. You got to make the best of a bad situation. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.